A philosophy of strength asks you to accept you do not matter. Stoicism, a 2,000-year-old guide for building an unshakable character, presents us with this stunning paradox. It teaches us to cultivate virtue, resilience, and inner peace, yet its ultimate secret is the embrace of our own cosmic irrelevance. This is not a call to despair, but the hidden key to a freedom most of us have never felt. By the end of this exploration, you will understand how letting go of your need for significance is the very foundation for a meaningful and tranquil life. We will journey through ancient mental techniques like the view from above, confront the liberating truth of the dichotomy of control, and discover the radical acceptance of Amor Fati. We will see why the pressure to be remembered, how the silence of the universe is not an emptiness, but the space where your true self can finally breathe. What does it truly mean to live a good life when you know you will be forgotten? Our entire culture now screams the opposite of this ancient wisdom. We are told from every screen and advertisement that we must build a personal brand, leave a legacy, and make our mark on the world. The quiet voice of Stoicism, suggesting we accept our small and fleeting role, is drowned out by a deafening chorus insisting that we are the main character of an epic story that must be remembered. This is the modern ego trap, and it is a source of immense quiet suffering. Think of the anxiety that comes from curating a social media presence, the constant comparison to highlight reels of other lives, the pressure to turn every hobby into a side hustle and every thought into content. We are encouraged to see ourselves as products to be marketed, stories to be sold, rather than human beings simply experiencing a life. This creates a fragile sense of self, one that is dependent on external validation, likes, shares, and the perpetual fear of fading into obscurity. In our careers, we often chase titles and recognition not just for security, but as proof that we matter, that our existence has weight. The underlying terror is the thought of being forgotten, of living a life that leaves no permanent trace. But here is the painful irony built into this chase. The more desperately we grasp for significance, the more anxiety we feel. Our happiness becomes tied to things outside our control, whether a promotion, a viral post, or the opinions of others. We live in a state of resistance, fighting against the natural flow of a universe that is vast, ancient, and largely indifferent to our personal narratives. This resistance is what the Stoics identified as the root of distress. When your sense of worth is hitched to a legacy you cannot guarantee, you are setting yourself up for fragility. Every setback feels not just like a failure, but like an erasure of your meaning. The Stoic invitation is to step out of that exhausting race. It asks, what if the pressure to be remembered is the very thing preventing you from truly living? What becomes possible when you release that burden? This cosmic perspective is the precise meaning of Stoic irrelevance. It is a factual observation, not an emotional judgment. To the Stoics, the universe operates according to a grand, rational order they called the logos. Within this vast and ancient system, our individual lives are astonishingly brief, and our physical presence is vanishingly small. When you look up at a clear night sky, you are not seeing emptiness, you are seeing scale. Each of those points of light is a sun, many with their own worlds, stretching across distances so immense they defy our everyday understanding. Your entire life, from first breath to last, is less than a blink in the lifetime of a star. This is not nihilism, it is simple astronomy. The philosophy asks us to internalize this truth not to make us feel small, but to correct a natural human bias. We are evolutionarily wired to see ourselves as the center of our own story, which was essential for survival. But this creates a cognitive illusion, making our personal dramas feel like the most important events in the cosmos. Stoicism offers the antidote, a mental exercise known as the view from above. You deliberately pull your perspective back in space and in time. You see your city from a great height, then your country, then the planet as a blue-green marble hanging in the black. You extend your view across centuries, watching generations rise and fall like waves on a shore. From this vantage point, your immediate worries, your hunger for recognition, your fear of being forgotten, all of it is placed into its true proportion. You are a part of the whole, a necessary and beautiful note in a symphony that will continue long after your note has faded. This is the foundation. Accepting irrelevance means swapping a fragile, self-centered story for a stable, cosmic context. It means understanding that your true worth was never in being remembered, but in how you play your part while you are here. This cosmic perspective is rooted in a specific vision of reality. The Stoics saw the universe not as a random, chaotic void, but as a single, living, intelligent organism. They called this the logos. It is a difficult word to translate perfectly, but think of it as the rational principle, the divine fire, the intelligent order woven into the fabric of everything that exists. It is the reason why planets move in orbits, why seasons change, why a seed grows into a specific tree. For the Stoics, this logos was both the material stuff of the cosmos and the mind that directs it. It is nature itself acting with purpose, and here is the crucial part: they believed every single human being contains a spark of this divine fire. Your capacity for reason, your ability to discern right from wrong, your impulse toward connection, this is your fragment of the logos. You are not a separate entity dropped into an alien world. You are a conscious piece of the whole universe experiencing itself. This changes everything about what it means to be irrelevant. If you are a fragment of the whole, then your true purpose is not to stand out from the whole, but to harmonize with it. Your role is to let your little spark of reason align with the grand, rational order of nature. This is why the Stoics spoke so much about living in accordance with nature. It was not about living in the woods, it was about living in truth, accepting your place within a system far greater than yourself. They further believed this system was providential. That is a loaded word today, but for them, it meant the universe is ordered for the good of the whole. Everything that happens, from the growth of a forest to the fall of an empire, serves the rational unfolding of the cosmos. This includes events we would label as personal misfortunes, illness, loss, failure. From the limited view of our individual lives, these seem like cruel interruptions, but from the vantage point of the whole, the Stoics proposed they are necessary threads in a vast tapestry whose beauty we cannot fully see. This is not a naive belief that everything happens for a personal, happy reason. It is a radical trust in the coherence of reality itself. Accepting your irrelevance, then, becomes an act of profound rationality. It is the decision to stop arguing with the plot of a story you did not write, and instead to play your assigned part with excellence and grace. To resist your role is to be like a foot that complains it is not a hand, or a wave raging against the ocean for being too vast. It is a futile struggle that creates only inner turmoil. The peace comes from the alignment. When you understand you are a fragment of a purposeful whole, your personal desire for lasting significance softens. Your value is no longer conditional on being remembered, but inherent in your conscious participation in the grand design. This foundational worldview sets the stage for the practical tools the Stoics built upon it. The most powerful application of this worldview is not a theory, but a practice you can use today. It is called the view from above, and it is a mental exercise designed to make cosmic irrelevance a felt experience, not just an intellectual idea. It works by systematically shifting your perspective, using the power of your own imagination to break the spell of self-importance. Let us try it right now. Begin by settling into your space, taking a breath and closing your eyes if you are comfortable. First, see your immediate surroundings in your mind's eye, the room you are in, the objects around you. Now begin to pull your perspective upward, as if you are floating gently through the ceiling. See the building you are in from the outside. Rise higher and see your entire street or neighborhood laid out below, with cars like tiny beetles and people as moving specks. Keep going. See your whole city or town from a bird's eye view, a patchwork of rooftops and roads. Notice how your home is just one point among thousands. Now pull back further. See your region or country, recognizing its shape from a map. Your city is now a small cluster of light. Continue outward until you see the curve of the planet itself, a beautiful blue and white sphere hanging in the profound silence of space. This is your home, and everyone you have ever known lives on this fragile, spinning marble. Finally, let your imagination expand into the solar system, watching that blue marble recede into the black, becoming a pale blue dot, as the astronomer Carl Sagan called it, lost in the sun's gleaming light. Then let it go further into the Milky Way, a swirl of billions of stars, our sun just one among them. This is the scale of the cosmos. Now shift to time. Think back over the past century, seeing the generations that came before you. Go back 1,000 years, 2,000 years to the time of the Stoics themselves. See the endless procession of lives, each filled with their own urgent hopes and fears, most of their names now lost to history. Then project forward 1,000 years, imagining the world that will be, with people living lives we cannot conceive. From this dual perspective of vast space and deep time, bring your attention back to your original worry, your craving for recognition, your personal drama. Feel how it changes. It does not vanish, but it is placed into a new and humbling context. The sting of a rude comment, the anxiety over a missed opportunity, the burning desire to be remembered, all of it is held within a silence so immense it makes room for everything. This practice dissolves pettiness not through scorn, but through awe. It does not say your problems are meaningless. It says you are part of something so grand that your peace need not depend on solving every single one of them. You are a brief, conscious flicker in an ancient story. The question is not how bright your flicker burns, but what quality of light you choose to emit while you are here. This is where philosophy becomes a tool you can hold in your hands. The Stoics gave this tool a name, the Dichotomy of Control. It is the ultimate application of accepting your irrelevance, and it begins with a brutally simple sorting exercise. Look at anything in your life, any situation, any worry, any hope. Ask yourself, is this within my complete control, or is it not? The Stoics concluded that the only things truly within our control are our own judgments, our intentions, our desires and aversions, and the actions we choose to take right now. Everything else, without exception, is outside our control. This includes our reputation, our wealth, our health, the actions of other people, and most pointedly, whether we are remembered after we are gone. Our legacy, our historical significance, how future generations will speak our name, these are the very definition of external factors. They depend on the whims of culture, the passage of time, the priorities of people not yet born. To tie your inner peace to such distant and unstable outcomes is to hand the keys to your happiness to the universe and hope it drives you where you want to go. It is a recipe for perpetual anxiety. Think of a writer who pours their soul into a book, their internal work, the discipline of writing each day, the integrity of their craft that is within their control. But whether the book becomes a bestseller, whether critics praise it, whether it is read in 100 years, that is not. The writer who clings to the desire for a lasting literary legacy is setting themselves up for distress. Their satisfaction becomes hostage to sales figures and the fickle tastes of the public. The Stoic writer, however, finds fulfillment in the act of writing itself, in the virtue of doing the work well. They release the outcome to the world, understanding it was never theirs to command. This is the profound shift. Accepting your cosmic irrelevance is not passive resignation, it is active liberation. It frees your energy from fruitless battles over things you cannot change and redirects it entirely toward the one arena where you are sovereign, your own character and your choices in this present moment. When you stop straining to control the uncontrollable, which includes your place in history, you discover a surplus of power. That energy is now available for what matters, for acting with justice, courage, moderation, and wisdom today. The desire to be significant is often a desire to control how others see us, even after we are gone. The dichotomy of control asks us to gently lay that desire down. Your task is not to engineer a memorable story, but to live a good life right now with the time and the circumstances you have been given. The rest is not your business. This letting go is the deepest form of empowerment because it anchors you in the only reality you can ever truly influence. This is where the philosophy moves from acceptance to something far more radical, a deep and active love. The Stoics called it Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. If the dichotomy of control is the mental tool, Amor Fati is the emotional state it produces. It is the final, graceful surrender to being a cog in a vast and beautiful machine. Think of an antique clock with its intricate gears and springs. A single cog does not sit there wishing it were the mainspring or resenting the number of times it must turn each day. It does not question its size or its position. It simply engages with the teeth of the neighboring gear, fulfilling its precise function. In doing so, it allows the entire mechanism to tell the correct time. The cog's purpose is not to be remembered as an individual component, but to enable the harmony of the whole system. Amor Fati is choosing to be that cog and loving your specific place in the mechanism. It means welcoming every single event that comes to you, not just the pleasant ones, as necessary for the unfolding of the universal order you are a part of. This is not about enjoying pain or pretending hardship does not hurt. It is about a fundamental shift in interpretation. A setback, a loss, an illness, these are not random punishments or interruptions to your personal story. From the perspective of the whole, they are simply the turning of the gears, the friction required for the machine to function. Your job is not to rage against the turning, but to find how you can engage with it, learn from it, and allow it to shape you into a more resilient, more compassionate part of the whole. The ancient Stoics would practice this by adding a specific phrase to any challenging event. Instead of saying, "Why is this happening to me?" they would say, "This is happening for me. For me to practice courage, for me to cultivate patience, for me to deepen my understanding." The obstacle becomes the very material for building virtue. When you love your fate, you stop seeing yourself as the author of a solitary novel where every chapter should be pleasant. You begin to see yourself as a character in an epic far greater than yourself, trusting that even the difficult scenes are essential to the plot's coherence and ultimate beauty. This love dissolves the last remnants of resistance. It answers the final whisper of the ego that still wants a special, smoother, more celebrated path. There is profound peace in no longer wishing for a different past or an alternate future. Your life, with all its unique joys and sorrows, becomes the exact life you are meant to live, not in a mystical sense, but in the simple, factual sense that it is the one you are living. To love it is to fully inhabit it. This is the emotional culmination of accepting your irrelevance. You are not the machine, you are a vital part of it. And in loving your role, however small or unnoticed, you find a significance that no legacy could ever provide. Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, kept a private journal not meant for our eyes. In those pages, now known as the Meditations, he returns again and again to a single, sobering image, the river of time. He writes to himself, "Time is a river, a violent current of events, glimpsed once and already carried past us, and another follows and is gone." Think of the famous names from history you learned in school, the conquerors, the artists, the philosophers. Marcus asks us to see them not as permanent statues, but as leaves floating on that relentless river. Soon, he reminds himself, you will have forgotten all things, and soon all things will have forgotten you. This is not the voice of a depressed man, but of a ruler actively managing an empire, steeling himself against the most seductive trap of power, the hunger for eternal glory. He lists the great figures of the past and notes how even their memories have faded, their deeds reduced to dry entries in a book, if they are remembered at all. The names of those who sang their praises are gone as well. All of it, he concludes, is smoke and dust. Now, why would the most powerful man in the known world engrave such thoughts into his mind each day? He was not practicing pessimism, he was performing mental hygiene. He was scrubbing away the illusion of permanence that clings to every position of influence. By confronting the absolute certainty that he, too, would be forgotten, he was freeing himself to govern well in the present. If his actions were motivated by a desperate need to secure his legacy, they would be corrupted by that anxiety. He might choose flashy, short-term victories over just long-term stability. He might court the favor of historians instead of the good of the people. By accepting that the river would swallow his name just as it had swallowed the names before him, he could focus on the only thing that truly mattered, acting with virtue here and now. His reflection dissolves the pressure of immortality. It tells us that the applause of future generations is as fleeting as the applause of a crowd in an ancient stadium. The sound has already vanished into the air. The freedom lies in playing the game well for its own sake, not for an echo that will never come. This is the historical precedent, a man at the peak of worldly significance using the idea of his own irrelevance as his source of strength and clarity. He did not need to be remembered, he needed to be good. The desire to be remembered is a beautiful human ache. We want to believe our story continues beyond the final page, that our name will echo in the halls of the future. Yet Stoicism invites us to examine this desire with clear eyes, to see it for what it truly is, another fragile vessel into which we pour our hope for meaning. The Stoics classified all things outside our control into a category they called indifference. Some indifference, like health or a good reputation, are naturally preferred. We would choose them if we could. Others, like illness or poverty, are dispreferred. But the crucial distinction is that neither type is good or bad in itself. The only true good is virtue, the excellence of our own character, and the only true evil is vice. A legacy, the hope that our memory will persist, falls squarely into the realm of a preferred indifferent. It is nice to imagine, but it is not necessary for a life well lived. To make your inner peace dependent on it is to build your house on sand that future generations will constantly reshape. Think of the countless individuals who lived with immense integrity and kindness, whose names are utterly lost to history. Were their lives less meaningful? Did their virtue evaporate because no monument bears their name? Of course not. Their goodness was complete in the moment it was expressed, in the courage of a single honest act, in the quiet comfort they offered. Their value was intrinsic, not posthumous. Banking on legacy is a peculiar form of procrastination. It says my tranquility, my sense of accomplishment can wait. It can be delivered later by people I will never meet, based on criteria I cannot foresee. You are outsourcing your fulfillment to the most unreliable courier imaginable, the collective memory of humanity. That memory is famously fickle, rewriting the past to suit the needs of the present. Today's hero is tomorrow's footnote. Yesterday's villain is reclaimed as a misunderstood visionary. To stake your life's meaning on this shifting narrative is to hand the remote control of your soul to strangers in the future. What if your field of work becomes obsolete? What if the language you speak is no longer studied? What if the values you champion fall out of fashion? The Stoic asks a simpler, more immediate question. What can you control about your legacy? You can control the integrity of your work today. You can control the kindness in your interaction this hour. You can control the courage you muster in this difficult conversation. That is the entirety of your domain. Everything else, including how those actions are interpreted a century from now, is speculation. The illusion is that a legacy extends our agency beyond the grave. In truth, it surrenders our present agency to a phantom. The man who works tirelessly not for the joy of the work itself, but to secure his place in the history books, has already missed the point. He is trading the tangible, controllable reality of a principled life for the intangible, uncontrollable hope of a footnote. The Stoic alternative is to live so fully and so virtuously in the present that the question of being remembered loses its urgency. Your life becomes its own monument, witnessed by the only consciousness guaranteed to be there from start to finish, your own. When you internalize this, a subtle but profound relief settles in. The pressure to perform for an unseen future audience melts away. You are no longer an actor on a stage, straining to deliver a memorable soliloquy. You are simply a person living. And in that simplicity, you might just do the most memorable thing of all. You might finally be free. There is a quiet room where the artisan works, unknown to the world outside. His hands move with practiced skill, shaping wood or weaving thread into patterns of intricate beauty. No signature will mark this piece, no patron will commission it, and no museum will ever display it. Yet his focus is absolute, his care unwavering. He is free in the deepest sense because the work itself is the entire point. This is the hidden gift within the acceptance of your own irrelevance, a liberation so profound it transforms how you move through the world. When you are no longer performing for an audience, real or imagined, you gain the freedom to act for the sake of the action itself. Virtue becomes its own reward, not a strategy for building your personal brand. You can choose kindness because it is right, not because it makes you look good. You can pursue excellence in a craft simply for the joy of mastery, not for the accolades it might bring. This is the freedom of the anonymous artisan, and it is available to anyone who lays down the burden of being significant. Think of the last time you did something purely for the love of it, with no thought of sharing it online or receiving praise. There was a unique quality to that moment, wasn't there? A lightness, an absence of anxiety. That is the feeling of acting from a place of intrinsic worth, where your value is not on the line with every outcome. This anonymity also grants the freedom to experiment, to fail, and to learn without the crushing weight of permanent record. If your identity isn't tied to being a success, then a setback is just data, a lesson, not an indictment of your core being. You can try a new skill, express an unpopular opinion, or change your path entirely, because the fear of damaging a legacy you are desperately curating simply vanishes. There is a profound humility that emerges from this space, a gentle understanding that you are a student in a vast, ongoing classroom. You listen more because you are not always preparing your next brilliant statement to cement your expertise. You collaborate more genuinely because you are not in a silent competition for credit. The joy you find is no longer a scarce resource, doled out by the approval of others, but a renewable wellspring you can access by fully immersing yourself in the present task. The anonymous artisan does not need his name carved into the chair he makes for it to support the person who rests in it. The function, the beauty, the integrity of the joinery, these are complete in themselves. In the same way, your life does not require a famous epilogue to be meaningful. The goodness of a single day, lived with attention and integrity, is a finished work. It needs no audience to validate it. When you internalize this, a spaciousness opens up in your mind. The constant background noise of self-presentation, of managing perceptions and worrying about your place in the story, finally goes silent. In that silence, you can hear what truly matters to you. You can act from a place of authentic desire, not calculated image. This is the ultimate flip of the script, where accepting your cosmic smallness does not shrink your life, but expands it immeasurably. It removes the ceiling of others' expectations and the floor of their disapproval. leaving you in the wide open sky of your own potential. What might you create or become if you were completely unafraid of being forgotten? This internal scorecard changes everything about how you define success. Without the need for a lasting legacy, the only thing left to measure is the quality of your own character. The Stoics called this the supreme good, virtue. It is not a vague moral ideal, but a practical set of traits you can cultivate every single day: wisdom to see the world clearly, courage to act rightly despite fear, justice in your dealings with others, and temperance in your desires and reactions. When you accept that the universe will not remember your name, this quartet becomes your true north, an internal compass that guides you regardless of external noise. Your life is no longer graded on a curve against others or judged by future historians. It is evaluated moment by the only consciousness that will ever fully witness it, your own. Did you act with integrity when no one was watching? Did you choose kindness when it was easier to be cruel? Did you face a difficult truth with courage? These are the questions that now matter. This shifts the source of your fulfillment from outside to inside, making you remarkably resilient. Praise cannot inflate you because your worth is not dependent on it. Criticism cannot crush you because your self-assessment is based on your own standards of virtue, not the opinions of others. Even the silent indifference of the cosmos, the fact that your deeds will one day be forgotten, loses its sting. Why? Because you were not acting for the applause. You were acting because it was right. Think of a nurse tending to a patient in the middle of the night, offering comfort with a gentle word and a steady hand. That act of compassion is complete in itself. It needs no monument, no public award, no entry in a history book to validate its goodness. Its value is inherent in the moment of connection, in the alignment of action with the virtue of justice and kindness. The nurse who understands this finds a deep, quiet satisfaction that no external recognition could ever match. She is immune to the feeling of being overlooked because her reward system is internal. Her compass points toward care, not credit. This is the ultimate liberation from the hunger for significance. You stop looking for your reflection in the eyes of the world or in the imagined eyes of the future. You simply look at your own hands and ask, what good can I do with them today? The answer to that question, lived out through the four virtues, becomes a life so rich in meaning that the question of being remembered finally, peacefully, fades away. Anxiety often feels like a spotlight is permanently fixed on you, magnifying every flaw and misstep for an invisible, judging audience. Yet this spotlight is an illusion, a trick of the mind that the principle of irrelevance can permanently switch off. When you accept that you are not the central character in everyone else's story, a profound relief settles in. The truth is, people are far too preoccupied with their own internal dramas to scrutinize yours with the intensity you fear. That awkward moment, the slightly off comment, the outfit you second-guessed, these are blips on other people's radar, forgotten almost as soon as they occur. Your cosmic irrelevance is mirrored in your social irrelevance, and this is wonderful news. It means you can step off the stage of your own imagined performance. You can speak, act, and simply be, not as a character trying to earn a review, but as a person engaging with other people. The pressure to be perfect, to be impressive, to be memorable in every interaction evaporates. You are free to be authentically, imperfectly yourself, because the stakes of social perception have been lowered to their true level. The silence of the universe is echoed in the gentle indifference of the world to your minor stumbles. This acceptance is the antidote to the exhausting labor of constantly managing your image. This same principle dissolves the sharp sting of envy. We look at another's success, their accolades, their seemingly perfect life, and it can feel like a personal indictment, as if their gain highlights our lack. But when viewed through the lens of cosmic time, their victory lap is as brief as yours. Every trophy tarnishes, every record is broken, every trend fades. The mansion, the title, the viral fame, all of it is carried away by the same river of time that will claim our own achievements. Their moment in the sun is just that, a moment. This is not meant to diminish their hard work or your own aspirations, but to place them in a context where comparison loses its power. Envy is the pain of believing someone else has secured a permanence that you have missed out on. The Stoic reminder that no one secures permanence liberates you from that painful comparison. You can admire someone's journey without needing their destination. You can pursue your own goals without the corrosive belief that you are in a race for a lasting crown. Your path is your own, and its worth is measured by the integrity of your walk, not by how it stacks up against another's when both paths lead to the same forgotten shore. Perhaps the most immediate emotional payoff comes in the release of resentment. We cling to slights and insults, replaying old arguments and nursing wounds as if keeping them alive gives them meaning. We want the universe, or at least the person who wronged us, to acknowledge the injustice. Yet from the vantage point of the view from above, that insult hurled in a heated moment is less than a whisper in a canyon. The person who delivered it is as fleeting as you are, and the emotion that fueled it has long since dissipated. To hold onto resentment is to clutch a burning coal, expecting the other person to feel the heat. Accepting your irrelevance means accepting that their opinion, their harsh word, their betrayal, is also irrelevant in the grand narrative of the cosmos. It does not define you, and it certainly does not deserve a permanent place in the story of your mind. Letting it go is not an act of weakness, but an act of supreme rational hygiene. You are clearing away the debris of other people's transient emotions to make space for your own peace. The insult was a brief collision of atoms in the vastness, and you have the power to let the echo fade into the same silence that awaits all things. When you do, you are not condoning the action. You are simply choosing to no longer let a ghost from the past dictate your present tranquility. The freedom found here is immediate and tangible, a lightness that comes from dropping a burden you were never meant to carry. This might sound like a lonely conclusion, but the Stoics saw the opposite. Accepting your cosmic irrelevance does not shrink your world down to a solitary cell. It expands your sense of belonging to include everything and everyone. This is the beautiful paradox of Stoic Cosmopolitanism, the idea that we are, first and foremost, citizens of the universe. When you look at yourself from that great height, you do not see an isolated island of self-importance. You see a node in a vast, interconnected web. You see that your spark of the logos is the same divine fire that burns in every other rational being. That stranger on the street, that historical figure you admire, that person you struggle to understand, all are fragments of the same whole, navigating the same brief and bewildering journey. Recognizing our shared smallness against the backdrop of eternity is what dismantles the walls of tribalism and fosters a genuine, universal compassion. It is difficult to feel truly separate or superior to someone when you understand that both of you are temporary leaves on the same ancient river. Your shared condition is not one of fame or legacy, but of fleeting consciousness in an immense cosmos. This common ground becomes the foundation for a new kind of duty. The Roman Stoic Seneca wrote that we should live for the common good, for we are born for community. If the universe is a single city, then every human being is your fellow citizen. Their well-being is literally connected to your own, because you are all parts of the same organism. Hurting another is like a hand arbitrarily striking the face. It is a dysfunction within the whole. This perspective transforms apathy into active care. You are not helping others to build a personal monument of charity for others to remember. You are fulfilling your natural role as a social being, tending to the other parts of your own extended self. Think of it like being on a long ocean voyage. The ship is the world, and we are all passengers. It would be absurd and ultimately self-destructive for one passenger to hoard all the fresh water or sabotage part of the deck simply because they want to be remembered as the most important traveler. The rational act, the act that serves the whole journey and thus yourself as part of it, is to ensure the ship is sound, to share resources fairly, and to aid a fellow passenger who stumbles. Your individual fame for being a good sailor is irrelevant. What matters is that the ship reaches its destination with all hands safe. This is the Stoic view of society. Your irrelevance as an individual star is what allows you to see the constellation you are part of. Your duty is not to outshine the others, but to hold your position so the pattern remains clear and beautiful. This duty feels lighter, not heavier, because it is aligned with nature. Resisting it, choosing selfishness or cruelty, is like a muscle fighting against the body it belongs to, a strain that creates only internal friction. Compassion in this light is not a sentimental extra, it is a rational recognition of kinship. When you see someone suffering, you are not looking at a separate drama that has nothing to do with you. You are witnessing a part of your universal city in distress. The appropriate response flows naturally from that understanding. It is the same reason you would instinctively reach out to steady someone who trips next to you on a crowded path, not for praise, but because their stumble momentarily became your shared concern. The Stoic ideal is to extend that instinct to the wider path of humanity. This does not mean shouldering the weight of every world problem as a personal burden. It means starting where you are, with the people in your immediate sphere, acting with justice and kindness because it upholds the integrity of the whole. The artisan who takes pride in a joint that will never be seen is practicing a form of this cosmopolitan duty, contributing to the integrity of the entire piece. In the same way, a kind word, an honest transaction, a patient response, these are the unseen joints that hold the human city together. Your legacy is not a statue in the town square. It is the quality of the civic space you helped maintain through a lifetime of small, virtuous actions. When you release the need for a personal monument, you free up immense energy to actually tend the garden you share with everyone else. The ultimate horizon of our irrelevance is the simple fact that we will not be here forever. The Stoics did not shy from this truth. They made it a daily practice called Memento Mori, a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. At first glance, this seems stark, even morbid, especially in a culture that often treats the end of life as a distant, unspeakable topic. But for the Stoic, this practice was not about fear or darkness. It was a tool of immense clarity and liberation. In the context of accepting our cosmic irrelevance, Memento Mori is the final, grounding reminder. It places a gentle but firm hand on our shoulder and asks, if your name and deeds will be forgotten by the world, and your time here is finite, what deserves your attention today? The practice dissolves procrastination of the soul. We so often defer our best intentions, telling ourselves we will be kinder tomorrow. We will start that meaningful project next year. We will mend that relationship when we have more time. We act as if we are building a legacy that will be completed in some distant future. Memento Mori whispers that the future is not guaranteed. The legacy is not yours to control, but this present moment is. It transforms the awareness of our end from a source of anxiety into a lens that brings our true priorities into sharp focus. Think of holding a clear, smooth stone from a river. You turn it over in your hand, feeling its weight and coolness. The practice is like that, a tangible object of contemplation. The Stoic might begin their day by reflecting, I am mortal. Everyone I will meet today is also mortal. This is not to cultivate sadness, but to cultivate presence. It instantly strips away pettiness. That frustrating commute, the petty disagreement with a colleague, the envy over a neighbor's new car, when held against the backdrop of a finite and precious life, these things lose their power to dominate your emotional landscape. They become what they are, passing weather in a sky that is ultimately clear and vast. What rises to the surface instead are the things that truly matter, the virtues. You see with sudden clarity that being patient with your child is more important than being right in an argument. You understand that acting with integrity in a business deal matters more than securing a slight advantage. You feel the urgency of expressing love to those you care about, not because you fear losing them, but because you honor the shared, fleeting gift of your connection. Memento Mori, in this light, is the ultimate ally against the trap of legacy. It says plainly, you cannot take your reputation with you. You cannot pack your accolades for the journey. The only baggage you carry is the character you have built. So why spend your brief hours polishing a statue of yourself that will eventually crumble? Why not spend those hours polishing your own soul? The practice makes every ordinary moment potentially sacred, not in a religious sense, but in its weight and authenticity. Drinking a cup of tea becomes the act of drinking a cup of tea, fully tasted, not a distracted moment while you scroll for news that will confirm your importance. A conversation becomes a genuine exchange between two temporary beings, not a strategic performance. This is how remembering death teaches you how to live. It does not tell you to achieve great things before time runs out. It tells you that the great thing is to live this hour with virtue. The pressure to be significant melts away, replaced by a profound gratitude for the opportunity to experience anything at all. The warmth of the sun, the complexity of a thought, the comfort of a shared silence. Your irrelevance in the cosmic story is matched by your irrelevance to the fact of your own ending. It comes for the emperor and the artisan alike, and in that shared, certain horizon, we find our most powerful common ground and our most compelling call to action. Do not look to the future for your meaning. It is not there. It is here, in the quality of your attention and the content of your character, in the only time you are ever promised, which is now. Seneca observed a peculiar sickness among the people of Rome. He saw men and women rushing through their days, their calendars filled with obligations, their minds preoccupied with endless tasks. Yet in his piercing essay on the shortness of life, he declared that life is not short, we simply make it so. We are not given a brief amount of time, he argued, we waste a great deal of it. This waste, he believed, is often driven by the very hunger for relevance we have been discussing. People fill their hours with frantic activity, with social climbing, with managing properties and reputations, not because these things bring fulfillment, but because they create a loud, convincing illusion of importance. The noise of busyness masks the silent fear of insignificance. We say we have no time for philosophy, for deep reflection, for truly knowing ourselves or those we love, because we are too busy building a life that looks important from the outside. Seneca called this being occupied with the business of life rather than living. He paints a vivid picture of a man constantly complaining about his crowded schedule, boasting of his indispensability, while in truth he is a servant to other people's demands and his own misplaced ambitions. This man, Seneca notes, is not living his own life. He is living a life designed for an audience, and in the process he is missing the only life he has. The busyness is a performance, a desperate attempt to prove to the world and to oneself that one matters. But this performance consumes the very currency it seeks to earn, which is time. The tragedy is that on their deathbeds, these same people will finally realize they were busy with the wrong things, that they spent their days climbing a ladder only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. This is the folly of busyness. It trades the substance of a life for the shadow of a legacy. Accepting your cosmic irrelevance is the antidote to this sickness. When you no longer need to perform importance, you can stop performing altogether. The compulsion to say yes to every invitation, to chase every promotion for the title, to accumulate possessions as proof of a life well spent, these impulses lose their power. You see them for what they are, not pathways to a meaningful life, but distractions from the quiet work of building one. This acceptance creates a sudden and profound space in your schedule, not for idleness but for philosophy. Seneca uses that word not to mean academic study, but the practice of living wisely. It is the time you reclaim for genuine conversation, for walking in nature without a phone, for reading books that challenge your soul, for simply sitting with your own thoughts and getting to know the person you are when no one is watching. This is the time you invest in the only thing that is truly yours, your character and your conscious experience. Think of your attention as a finite resource, like a bucket of water in a desert. The pursuit of relevance scatters that water onto the hot sand, trying to make a mark that everyone can see, but it evaporates instantly, leaving nothing behind. The Stoic practice, born from accepting irrelevance, is to pour that water carefully onto the roots of a single tree. No one may notice the tree for years, but it grows deep and strong, providing shade and sustenance for you, and perhaps one day for others. The man who stops chasing relevance stops living in the future, in the hypothetical moment when he will finally be acknowledged. He starts living in the present where life actually happens. He has time to be a true friend because friendship is no longer a networking opportunity. He has time to master a craft because mastery is its own reward, not a line on a resume. He has the courage to say no to good opportunities in order to say yes to the best ones, those aligned with his virtue. Seneca's message is urgent, not morbid. He is handing us a broom to sweep away the trivialities that clutter our days. By letting go of the need to be seen as important, we stop renting out our minds and our hours to other people's agendas. We take possession of our own time, and in doing so, we take possession of our own lives. The shortness of life is only a problem if you are trying to build something permanent. If you are simply trying to live well with awareness and integrity, you have all the time in the world. True humility is the quiet understanding of your actual size. In the Stoic sense, this has nothing to do with putting yourself down or diminishing your worth. It is the precise, unflinching calibration of your place within the grand scheme. After practicing the view from above, after feeling the vast silence of the cosmos, this humility is not an effort. It is the natural and gentle settling of your spirit. You are not worthless, you are correctly sized. This is the profound difference between Stoic humility and the self-denial we often confuse it with. One is a punishment, the other is a liberation. When you see yourself as a brief and conscious part of an ancient universe, the need to inflate your importance, to defend your ego at every turn, simply falls away. You can finally relax into the truth of your scale. This accurate self-assessment is the bedrock of all real learning and growth. An arrogant mind is a closed room, convinced it already possesses all the important furniture. It has no space for new ideas, no patience for correction, because every challenge to its knowledge feels like an attack on its carefully constructed significance. The humble mind, however, is an open window. It recognizes its own limits as a simple fact of existence, not a personal failing. It can listen deeply, admit when it is wrong, and absorb new information without its entire identity crumbling. Think of a master craftsman who has practiced for decades. His true expertise is often accompanied by a quiet humility because he has stared into the depth of his craft and understands how much more there is to know. The arrogant novice, by contrast, loudly proclaims his genius after his first project. One is grounded in reality, the other is performing for an audience. This humility is also the essential oil for peaceful coexistence. The arrogance that springs from a desperate quest for personal significance creates friction everywhere. It turns conversations into debates to be won, collaborations into competitions for credit, and shared spaces into arenas for self-promotion. When you are trying to prove you matter, everyone else becomes either an adversary or an audience. Stoic humility dissolves this tension. If you are not the main character, then other people are not your supporting cast or your rivals. They are fellow travelers, just as small and just as significant as you are in the eyes of the cosmos. This allows for genuine respect. You can disagree without needing to destroy. You can lead without needing to dominate. You can contribute without needing your name on the plaque. The humble person does not see service as beneath them, because they understand that service is simply one part tending to another part of the same whole. They offer help quietly, receive help gratefully, and see both as the natural flow of a connected world. This is the quiet power that emerges when you stop shouting to be heard above the silence of the universe. You discover your true voice, one that does not need to strain because it speaks from a place of grounded truth. An oak tree never wakes in the spring and laments that it is not a mountain. It does not strain to grow taller than the pines, nor does it fret that its leaves will one day fall and be forgotten in the soil. It simply reaches its roots into the earth and its branches toward the sky, fulfilling the quiet, magnificent purpose of being an oak. It grows strong by accepting the limits of its form, the rhythm of the seasons, and its place in the forest. This is nature's lesson in serene acceptance, a living example of the Stoic ideal. For the Stoics, to live according to nature was the highest good, and human nature, they believed, was defined by our capacity for reason and our innate social virtue. Our equivalent of growing roots and branches is to cultivate wisdom, justice, courage, and moderation. The oak's peace comes from not struggling against its inherent oakness. Our suffering, the Stoics observed, so often comes from struggling against our inherent humanness, which includes our scale and our temporality. We rage against the fact that we are not mountains, that we are not permanent, that our leaves too will fall. We exhaust ourselves trying to become something other than what we are, a temporary, rational, social creature in a vast and ancient order. The tree does not confuse its role. It provides shade, shelter for birds, stability for the soil. Its legacy is the function it serves in its ecosystem while it lives, and the nutrients it returns when it dies. It does not need its name carved into its trunk to validate its existence. Its meaning is inherent in its being. In the same way, our meaning is not found in becoming something grandiose and eternal, but in fulfilling our specific human nature here and now. To live rationally is to see the world clearly, including the truth of our small place in it, and to act accordingly. To live virtuously is to interact with our fellow temporary beings with fairness and kindness. This is our natural function within the cosmic ecosystem. When we stop striving to be the mountain, the immortal, the unforgettable legend, we can finally pour all our energy into being a magnificent oak. We can grow deep roots of character and wide branches of compassion, offering our unique form of shelter simply because that is what our nature, when untangled from ego, most deeply wants to do. The struggle for relevance is the sound of a tree trying to uproot itself. The peace of irrelevance is the sound of it finally settling into the earth, trusting the sun and the rain and growing. Our minds are master storytellers, constantly weaving our experiences into a coherent, often dramatic, personal narrative. We cast ourselves in leading roles, the hero overcoming adversity, the victim of circumstance, the misunderstood genius awaiting recognition. This internal novel gives our life a sense of plot and purpose, but it also becomes a hidden source of immense suffering. Every setback is not just a challenge, it is a plot twist that threatens the arc of our story. Every criticism is not just feedback, it is a bad review from an invisible critic. We become attached to a specific ending, a final chapter where we are vindicated, loved, or finally seen for who we truly are. Stoic irrelevance asks us to lay down this pen. It invites us to stop being the author of our own epic and to become, instead, a conscious participant in a series of present moments. The ego clings to narrative because a story has a meaning, a moral, a lasting impact. It promises that our suffering was for something, that our struggles will be remembered. But what if life is not a novel to be published and judged? What if it is more like a walk through a forest? On a walk, you do not judge the entire journey as a success or failure based on a single muddy patch or a beautiful overlook. You experience the cool air, the sound of birds, the rough bark of a tree under your hand, and then you take the next step. The walk is not about the destination being remembered. It is about the quality of your attention during the walk itself. This is the shift. When you release the need for your life to be a compelling story, you free yourself from the tyranny of the past and the anxiety of the future. A past failure is no longer a permanent stain on your character's record. It is simply something that happened, a moment from which you learned. A hoped-for future glory is no longer the required climax you are straining toward. It is just one possible outcome among many, none of which define you. Your worth is not accumulated like chapters in a book. It is expressed freshly in each new choice you make. Think of someone who identifies deeply as a victim of their past. That story can become a prison, coloring every new interaction with suspicion and resentment. Letting go of that narrative does not mean denying the hardship they endured. It means refusing to let that single chapter dictate the tone of every page that follows. Their power lies in the present moment, in the choice to respond to the person in front of them, not as a villain in their story, but as a human being. Similarly, the person who sees themselves as a hero on a quest for greatness often suffers from a brittle pride. Any mistake feels like a betrayal of their own legend. Releasing that narrative allows them to try, to fail, to learn, and to adapt without their entire identity crumbling. They can ask for help, they can change direction, because they are no longer playing a rigid role written by their own ego. This is the practical grace of irrelevance. Your life does not need a grand theme or a memorable finale to be valid. It is a collection of nows, and in each now, you have a simple, profound question available to you. Not how does this advance my plot, but how can I act with virtue in this situation? Can I be patient in this traffic jam? Can I be generous with this stranger? Can I be courageous in this honest conversation? When you focus on the quality of the moment, the weight of your personal saga lifts. You are no longer carrying the heavy manuscript of your entire life, editing and re-editing it in your mind. You are walking lightly, responding to what is actually here. The forest does not care about the story you tell about walking through it. The sun still filters through the leaves, the path still unfolds under your feet. By letting go of the narrative, you are not abandoning meaning, you are discovering a more immediate and reliable kind. Meaning is no longer deferred to a future climax or anchored to a past trauma. It is generated here in the integrity of your next action, in the quality of your very next breath. That silence can feel like a vast and lonely echo. After absorbing the full weight of Stoic irrelevance, the mind can settle into a quiet place where the usual background noise of striving has faded, and what remains is the profound, humbling silence of the cosmos. This is the moment many people instinctively pull back from. It can feel cold, empty, even frightening. We are social creatures wired for connection and recognition, and to contemplate a universe that offers neither in return for our personal dramas can seem like the ultimate rejection. But the Stoic invitation is to not turn away. It asks us to sit with this silence not as a verdict but as a condition. It is the baseline reality of existence, the canvas upon which our lives are painted. The crucial reframe is this, that silence is not indifference. Indifference implies a conscious choice to ignore. The universe is not ignoring you, it is simply vast. Its silence is not a judgment, it is space. And this space is the greatest gift a philosophy of freedom can offer. Think of a musician in a soundproof room. At first, the absolute quiet is unnerving. Every rustle of clothing, every breath feels amplified in the void. But then she raises her instrument. In that perfect, uncluttered silence, the first pure note rings out with a clarity that is impossible in a noisy hall. There is no echo to distort it, no crowd to please, no critic to anticipate. The note exists for its own sake, a vibration of pure intention. The silence of the universe is that soundproof room. It strips away the echoes of external validation and the noise of others' expectations. In that expansive quiet, your choices, your actions, your character, they ring out with their own intrinsic tone. Their value is not measured by the applause it generates in an amphitheater, because there is no amphitheater. Their value is in their purity, in their alignment with virtue. This is where the philosophy transforms from a mental exercise into a lived experience of liberation. When you accept that no one is keeping score on a cosmic level, you are freed to create your own scorecard based on what you truly value. A kind act performed in secret where no one will ever know becomes the most potent kind of virtue. It resonates in that silent space purely because it was good, not because it was seen. The pressure to perform for an audience, whether human or divine, evaporates. Your integrity is no longer a transaction, a bid for reward or a hedge against punishment. It becomes a choice made in the quiet for its own sake. This space also allows for genuine error and learning without the crushing weight of permanent record. In a universe that remembers nothing, your mistakes are not etched into some eternal ledger. They are lessons absorbed in the silence that allow your next note to be more true. This is the ultimate reframe of cosmic indifference. It is not that the universe does not care about you. It is that the universe provides the perfect, neutral conditions for you to discover what you care about deeply and authentically. The silence is not a void to be filled with desperate noise, but a sanctuary where your truest self can finally speak and listen. There is a simple writing exercise that can make this shift tangible in your own life. Take 2 pieces of paper. On the first, write the eulogy you hope someone would give about you one day. This is the legacy document, and it will likely be filled with external markers, your career accomplishments, the impact of your work, the love of your family, the admirable traits people saw in you. It is a story told from the outside, a summary of a life as others might perceive it. Now, set that paper aside. Take the second piece of paper, and this is for your eyes only. Every evening, you will use it not to summarize a life, but to review a single day. You ask yourself questions that have nothing to do with your resume or your reputation. Did I act with courage when I felt fear? Was I fair and just in my dealings with others, even when it was inconvenient? Did I exercise self-control, or did I let a passing desire dictate my actions? Did I seek to understand before being understood? This is the character audit. The contrast between these 2 documents is the entire philosophy in practice. The eulogy is about the story others will tell. The nightly review is about the truth you lived in the quiet moments no one witnessed. One trains your mind to chase a future impression. The other trains your mind to value the quality of your present choices. Over time, this nightly practice rewires your sense of relevance. You begin to derive satisfaction not from checking off achievements for your future eulogy writer, but from the private knowledge that today you were a bit more patient, a bit more honest, a bit more resilient than you were yesterday. The metric of a good life shifts from what you accumulated to who you became in the process. That second piece of paper holds the only legacy that is ever truly, undeniably yours. But a quiet question might now arise in the stillness. If I accept my cosmic irrelevance, if I let go of the need to be remembered, what happens to my drive? Doesn't this philosophy kill ambition? It is a crucial and honest objection. The answer, however, lies in a vital distinction the Stoics would insist upon: the difference between ambition driven by vanity and ambition aligned with purpose. Vanity is the hunger to be seen, to be celebrated, to have your name in lights. Its fuel is the applause of others, and its goal is a personal monument. This kind of ambition is a fragile engine because it depends on something outside your control, the opinions and memories of the world. When you accept your irrelevance, this engine naturally sputters and stops. You no longer need the monument, so you stop straining to build it. But purpose is something entirely different. Purpose is the inner compulsion to use your unique skills and energies in service of the common good, to play your part in the universal city with excellence. Its fuel is the intrinsic satisfaction of the work itself, and its goal is the contribution, not the credit. This ambition is not only compatible with Stoicism, it is its natural expression. Think of a brilliant researcher working on a cure for a widespread illness. The vain ambition would have her dreaming of a Nobel Prize, of her portrait in medical textbooks, of being remembered as the one who solved it. The Stoic ambition would have her focused with equal intensity on the meticulous work in the lab, on the integrity of each experiment, on the potential to alleviate suffering. The difference is not in the effort but in the source of her motivation. One is a performance for history, the other is a service to humanity. The Stoic researcher understands her work may be completed by others, her name may be lost in the footnotes of a future breakthrough, but that does not diminish the value of her contribution one bit. Her drive comes from aligning her reason and skill with the needs of the whole, which is the very definition of living in accordance with nature. She is ambitious, fiercely so, but her ambition is for the outcome, not for the ovation. This reframes every endeavor. The entrepreneur is not building a company to become a famous billionaire, but to solve a real problem and provide meaningful work. The teacher is not instructing to win awards, but to ignite curiosity and equip young minds. The artist is not creating to secure a legacy in museums, but to capture a truth or a beauty that feels essential to express. The fire in their belly remains, but it is no longer a fire that needs to be constantly fed by external validation. It is a steady, renewable flame that burns on the fuel of virtuous action. Letting go of vanity does not make you passive, it makes you potent. It clears away the ego's clutter, the anxiety over who gets the credit, the fear of being outshone. All that energy is reclaimed and redirected into the craft, the service, the work itself. You become more ambitious for the right things, for mastery, for impact, for integrity. The world may never know your name, but it will feel the quality of your contribution. And in the silent space of your own character, you will know you lived not for an echo, but for a purpose. The greatest art often emerges not from a hunger for applause, but from a quiet conversation with the void. This is the artist's paradox, a beautiful tension at the heart of creation. To make something meant to communicate, to move, to last, while simultaneously embracing the truth that you, the maker, are fleeting, and the work itself may one day turn to dust. This is where the Stoic acceptance of irrelevance finds one of its most profound expressions. The artist who creates for legacy is like a gardener planting a tree solely for the plaque that will bear their name. Their eye is on the future monument, not the tender needs of the sapling in the present. Every review is a personal verdict, every shift in taste a potential betrayal. Their creativity becomes fragile, hostage to the fickle judgments of critics and the passage of time. But the artist who creates from a place of stoic alignment works differently. Their primary relationship is with the work itself. The sculpture emerges from a dialogue with the stone. The poem arrives from a need to give form to a feeling. The melody is a response to an inner silence that asks to be filled with sound. For this creator, the act is the fulfillment, the making is the meaning. Consider the anonymous craftsmen who built the great cathedrals of the medieval world. They carved stone gargoyles that would perch in rain and shadow, hundreds of feet above any human eye. They painted intricate frescoes on ceilings so high their details would be a blur to the worshippers below. They inlaid brilliant stained glass, knowing full well that from the inside, the figures would be seen only in silhouette against the light. They signed none of it, their names are lost, yet they worked with a devotion to detail that suggests something other than a desire for personal fame. They were working for God, for beauty, for the integrity of the whole structure. Their satisfaction was in the offering, in the skillful execution of a sacred task. They found relevance not in individual remembrance, but in their contribution to something that pointed beyond themselves. This spirit appears again in more modern tales, like that of the composer who, upon finishing a symphony, would sometimes burn the manuscript. Or the painter who, dissatisfied with a canvas, would scrape it clean to begin again. These are not acts of despair, but of profound detachment. They declare that the value was in the process of creation, in the struggle and the discovery, not in the physical object that remained. The work was complete in the doing. Its potential reception, its place in a gallery or a concert hall, was a separate matter, an external to be released. This is the creative application of Amor Fati, the love of one's fate. The artist loves the entire process, the frustrating blocks, the moments of flow, the final form, and even its potential destruction or obscurity. It is all part of the work's journey, which is now separate from their ego. When you create from this space, you are freed from the poison of comparison. You are not trying to outdo the masters of the past or compete with your contemporaries for a sliver of historical attention. You are simply answering the call of your own capacity, using your fragment of the universal logos to bring something new into the world for its own sake. The work may be seen by millions or by no one. That outcome does not diminish the truth of the creative act. In fact, it can deepen it. There is a unique purity to a song sung in an empty room, a story written in a journal never shared, a garden tended where only the gardener sees each bloom. These acts are their own reward, their own silent testament to a life engaged. The paradox dissolves when you realize that the deepest impact often comes from work created without a calculated aim for impact. It comes from authenticity, from a truth so personal it becomes universal. The artist who labors for the work itself, embracing the oblivion that awaits them, often, ironically, creates the very work that endures. Not because they aimed for endurance, but because they aimed for truth, and truth, spoken clearly into the silent cosmos, has a resonance all its own. The alarm sounds not as an enemy, but as a neutral signal. You rise, and the first conscious thought is not a rehearsal of the day's battles or a tally of looming obligations. It is a simple, grounding recognition. You are here, and the day ahead is a series of moments you will meet, not a performance you must deliver. This is a day lived through the lens of your own irrelevance. Your morning commute is not a gauntlet of incompetent drivers, but a river of other temporary beings, each in their own private story. The traffic jam is not a personal affront to your schedule, but a simple condition of the shared road. You feel the frustration, but you do not feed it with narratives of injustice. You breathe, you listen to music, you observe the sky. The stress that usually coils in your shoulders finds no story to latch onto, and it begins to dissipate. At work, a colleague takes credit for an idea you subtly suggested. The old script, the one where you are the heroic underdog wronged by a rival, flickers for a second. But today, you see it differently. The idea's value is in its implementation for the good of the project, not in who first voiced it. Your need for personal recognition in this tiny, temporary office drama feels almost comical against the backdrop of cosmic time. You feel a surprising lightness. You can address the oversight if it's practical, or you can let it go if it's trivial, but you are not poisoned by resentment. Your energy remains yours, directed toward the next task, done with care for its own sake. During a lunch break, you call a friend who has been struggling. You listen, not to offer the perfect advice that will make you feel wise, but simply to be a presence. You are not crafting a memory of yourself as a savior. You are just one fragment of the universe offering comfort to another. The conversation feels deeper, less burdened by ego. Later, you choose a salad over fast food. This is not an act of punishment or a bid for a future perfect body to be admired. It is a temperate choice, a small alignment of your actions with the care of the temporary vessel you inhabit. It feels like respect, not restriction. In the afternoon, your manager assigns a tedious, unglamorous task. The legacy-driven mind groans, seeing this as a waste of precious time that could be spent on resume-building work. The irrelevance-filtered mind sees it as the next thing to do. You complete it with thoroughness, not because anyone will praise you for it, but because a job done well is its own quiet reward. The satisfaction is intrinsic, a private nod to your own standard of craftsmanship. You leave the office on time, your worth not tied to being the last one out. You have a life to live, not a legend to build. Evening arrives. You decline an invitation to a noisy social gathering you would normally attend out of fear of missing out. There is no anxiety about fading from someone's social memory. You choose a quiet walk instead, feeling the cool air, noticing the patterns of branches against the twilight sky. You are not sharing the moment online, you are fully inside it. Later, you read a book, not to finish it or to be able to discuss it, but for the pure engagement with the author's ideas. When a minor worry about tomorrow surfaces, you apply the view from above. You see your street, your city, the planet, and the worry shrinks to its true, manageable size. It is a cloud, not the sky. As you prepare for sleep, you do not scroll through feeds comparing your day to curated highlights. You might do the nightly review, noting where you acted with patience or where you could have been more courageous. There is no grand score, just a gentle acknowledgement of growth. You lie down, and the silence of the room connects to the greater silence you have made peace with. It is not empty. It is full of the day's lived experience, unburdened by the weight of having to mean something more. This is the tangible result, less stress, because you are not fighting for control over uncontrollable narratives. More presence, because your attention is not hijacked by past regrets or future applause. Kinder actions, because you see others as fellow travelers, not competitors for a finite supply of significance. Your motivation comes from within, from the alignment of your small, conscious spark with the vast, beautiful pattern of which it is a part. You lived a day not as a stepping stone to a monument, but as a complete piece of art, witnessed only by you and the indifferent, liberating stars. This is the quiet heart of the entire paradox, the final and most beautiful turn. You have released the desperate need to be a landmark in the landscape of history. You have made peace with being a passing weather pattern in the climate of time, and in that very act of letting go, something astonishing happens. You become significant in the only way that was ever truly possible. Not to the universe, which remains vast and silent, but to the quality of your own existence. The significance you achieve is not etched in stone for others to find, but woven into the fabric of your character, where it cannot be eroded by time or opinion. This is the ultimate irony, that by embracing your cosmic irrelevance, you finally unlock a significance that is real, stable, and completely within your control. It is the significance of a life lived in conscious alignment with virtue and nature. Think of a lighthouse keeper on a remote, rocky shore. His name is unknown to the ships that pass. His face is unseen in the darkness. His personal story is irrelevant to the captains navigating the treacherous waters, yet his role is of supreme importance. Night after night, he maintains the lamp, ensuring the beam cuts through the fog and storm. His significance lies not in fame, but in the unwavering fidelity to his function. He is aligned with his purpose, which is to serve the safe passage of others. His life is meaningful because it is devoted to a good beyond himself, and he finds profound satisfaction in the diligent performance of his duty, regardless of whether anyone ever knows his name. This is the human equivalent. When you stop trying to be the celebrated ship, you are freed to become the reliable lighthouse. Your significance is no longer a distant, hoped-for destination, but a present moment orientation. It is found in the integrity of your actions, the courage of your choices, the justice of your dealings, and the temperance of your responses. These virtues are not performed for an audience. They are cultivated for their own sake, because they represent the excellence of a rational, social being. This is what the Stoics meant by living in accordance with nature. You are not a stray comet trying to blaze a unique, unforgettable path. You are a conscious part of a coherent whole, and your natural function is to contribute to the harmony of that whole through reason and virtue. When you fulfill that function, you achieve a significance that is inherent and unshakable. A kind act does not need to be remembered to be good. A truthful word does not require a historian to record it to be right. A moment of patience in a frustrating situation is a complete and perfect victory in itself, witnessed by your own conscience. This inner significance is immune to the fickleness of fashion, the forgetfulness of history, and the indifference of the cosmos. It cannot be taken from you because it was never given by anyone else. It is the quiet knowledge that you are using your brief, flickering consciousness well. You are not wasting your light trying to illuminate a monument to yourself. You are simply letting it shine clearly and consistently on the path directly before you and on the people who share it with you. In doing so, you become a fixed point of decency and strength in a flowing world. You may never be a famous star in the cultural constellation, but you become a reliable, steady light in your own corner of the human sky. And for those who navigate by your light, your significance is absolute, even if it is never spoken. This is the unshakable core the philosophy offers. Meaning is not found in the echo of your name, but in the resonance of your character. By accepting that you will leave no permanent mark on the universe, you are freed to make a beautiful, temporary drawing in the sand, fully enjoying the act of creation before the tide comes in. And in that focused, present, virtuous engagement with your one and only life, you find all the significance you could ever need. The journey we have taken is a quiet rebellion against a noisy world. We began in the modern ego trap where our worth feels tied to likes, legacies, and the desperate fear of being forgotten. We saw how this hunger for personal significance creates a fragile, anxious self, perpetually performing for an audience that may never truly arrive. From there, we stepped back through the Stoic lens to see a different truth. We practiced the view from above, feeling the humbling scale of the cosmos and the river of time that carries all names away. We learned to sort our concerns with the dichotomy of control, focusing our energy solely on our judgments and actions, the only realm where we are truly sovereign. We explored the radical love of one's fate, Amor Fati, and saw how even hardship can be material for building virtue. We watched Marcus Aurelius use the certainty of his own oblivion as a source of clear-eyed governance. We discovered that the busyness of modern life is often just a performance to mask the quiet fear of insignificance. And through it all, we found that accepting our cosmic irrelevance is not a surrender to nihilism, but the precise opposite. It is the necessary precondition for a freedom most of us have never known. It is the liberation from performing, from comparing, from clinging to outcomes we cannot command. This acceptance is the soil in which true virtue can grow: courage, justice, wisdom, and temperance untainted by the desire for credit or the fear of obscurity. It is the foundation of a tranquility that does not depend on the world's applause, because it is rooted in the silent alignment of your small, conscious spark with the vast, beautiful whole of which it is a part. The peace you find is not in becoming a mountain, but in being a perfectly formed stone in the river, shaped by the current, contributing to the flow, and then resting quietly when your journey is done. This is the profound gift of Stoic irrelevance. You are freed to live not for an echo, but for the authentic sound of your own existence. So tonight or tomorrow morning, take just 5 minutes. Sit quietly and practice the view from above. Let your mind expand to the scale of the planet, the solar system, the galaxy. Then bring your attention to your day ahead. Feel how your worries soften in that immense space, or try the character test. For 1 week, each evening, ask yourself not what you achieved, but how you acted. Was I patient? Was I fair? Was I courageous? This simple audit shifts your metric of success from external legacy to internal integrity. If this exploration of finding freedom in the face of finitude resonated with you, consider subscribing. We delve into other practical philosophies, ancient and modern, that help us navigate life with more wisdom and less worry. Thank you for walking through this quiet rebellion with me. May you find deep peace in your perfectly sized, beautifully conscious place in the grand and silent story of everything.